morning and welcome to another segment of the Consumer Affairs Division's Facebook live series, Consumer Talk. I am Cheryl Woodruff Roberts, host of today's program. As usual, our programs are geared towards educating and empowering you, the consumers, to make informed purchasing decisions. And so today's topic will be centered around one, the Adverse Trade Practice Order 2000 or the ATPO, and two, the Handyman Service Contract, which every household should have. So please call your friends and share this live stream. Don't let them miss out. Also coming up in today's program is the consumer quiz segment based on the topics shared today. This segment offers an excellent opportunity to win some useful prizes, so stay tuned. And if you have any questions pertaining to today's presentation, we encourage you to place them in the live feed anytime during the presentation, and we will address them during the Q&A segment. So please welcome our speaker for today, Acting Consumer Advocate 2, Ms. Ava Ballard Noel.
Thank you, Cheryl. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our second installment of the Consumer Talk. So today we're going to be speaking about, as Cheryl intimated, the Adverse Trade Practices Order 2000, and we're also going to be touching a bit on the Handyman Services Contract. So right now I'm about to share my screen. I'm going to share the ATPO for you to see. I'm going to make it a little larger so that everybody can, I'm going to zoom in, right. So this is the Adverse Trade Practices Order flyer. As you will observe, the ATPO is dated the year 2000 and it's 2022 now, so it's 22 years old, and we still have incidences of breaches of the order. So I'm going to go through the 4 items under the order with you so that those listening would become acquainted with and acquainted with what the order is all about. So item number 1 under the order prohibits the display and publications. Let me zoom in a little bit so you could see. Prohibits the display and publication of statements which are invalid by law. Persons who supply or offer goods or services to consumers in the course of business cannot display on business premises notices containing statements which are invalid by law. And so you see we have examples: no refund, and I know you're familiar with it, no cash refund, no exchange, all sales are final. You'll see stuff like that. And these statements cannot be displayed or published in notices, advertisements, receipts, bills, or other documents which are given to consumers. So if it is that you get a receipt and you see those signs, or you see it behind the cashier, or sometimes you would see it there, sometimes you'll see it even popping up in your dressing rooms when you go to clothing stores. Just be aware that those signs have been illegal since the year 2000 under the Adverse Trade Practices Order. So be aware of this. Item under the order, or item number 2, requires suppliers of goods to include all terms and conditions in contracts with consumers. A contract for the supply of goods must include all the terms, conditions, representations, warranties under which the goods are supplied, including the cost, which must be borne by the consumer if the goods are to be returned to the supplier for servicing or inspection. So what we're looking at, sometimes when you purchase a phone, for example, the majority of the bill would have the terms and conditions in it, and a little part you would see the price and probably the serial number. And most of the times, well, it's supposed to be that you require your ID to sign up for the phone, and they will require you to sign stating that you received and that you read the terms and conditions. Most of us do not do that. And that fine print is sometimes something that it's just a turn off for you to read, and you think, okay, blah, blah, yeah, and you just go through it and you don't read what it is that you're entitled to, what your warranty is and all that. And it's important for you to read it so that you know what it is you're getting into. So item number 2 says the suppliers of goods cannot unilaterally introduce a new term into the contract after it has been entered into by the consumer. And we use entered into because sometimes you don't really have to sign. Sometimes when money exchanges hands, that constitutes a contract being started or being born. All right. So once good money changes hands, the contract becomes enforceable. And so once that contract becomes enforceable, anything that goes wrong with the phone, for example, you can go back and state, well, look, this is wrong with the phone. What the order is saying is that once you have that contract, the supplier can't say, well, verbally I told you X or verbally I told you Y, and that applies also to the contract. No, you cannot introduce new terms after the contract has been signed or entered into by the consumer. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3 under the order requires suppliers to state the consumer's statutory rights. So a supplier who supplies goods to persons other than consumers, which contain a statement limiting his obligations for the goods supplied, must also provide another statement printed in letters and figures of the same size and prominence as the statement, indicating that 1, the consumer possesses certain statutory rights under the Sale of Goods Act and the Hire Purchase Act, and that these rights are not affected by the first statement. So the supplier may have certain things, probably a disclaimer that limits his liability, something that might be in contravention of his statutory rights. So even if the statement might seem adverse to you, he must also, in that contract, say, listen, this doesn't affect your statutory rights under the Sale of Goods Act, section 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And it's there so that you can know, well, all right, I'm safe, right? So persons other than consumers, we're talking about wholesalers, manufacturers, and distributors. All right, so that's number 3 of the order. Number 4 of the order requires suppliers to state the value added tax for goods. So where the price of goods on which VAT is payable is advertised, displayed, quoted, and the VAT is not included in the price, the VAT must be stated. So let's say, for example, this price is displayed on the shelf, even if you don't have the VAT as the VAT displayed along with the price, you must have at the end of the price itself, so $25.95 inclusive of VAT, something small saying inclusive of VAT, so that you know that the price that you're seeing there is the price that you're going to be paying when you go to the till. If it is that you want to include the price of the VAT as well, the price and the VAT, they are saying here that it must be of the same size and prominence. So if the price is stated, number 1, in money terms and not in as a percentage, the VAT must be there. And number 2, in figures or letters of the same size and prominence. So it mustn't be chunky, in other words. So if it is you have $25.95 and it have VAT added to that, the $25.95 and the VAT price, the 15% price must be below in the same size and prominence. It mustn't be that you have to squint to see it. All right, so these are the 4 items in the order. And as I said before, it's been around since the year 2000, and a lot of people still are not aware that this exists. Now, the penalties are in the flyer there for you to go through with it on your own time. This brochure is available on soft copy. It's available on our Facebook page, Consumer Affairs Division TNT. So you can avail of that. Look it up, and you can download it and take your time to read it and become aware of what the order entails. All right, so I'm about to stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to go into our PowerPoint presentation directly. Right, now, so we did go through our administrative factors. So now we are going to speak about the handyman services contract. So when I'm going to bring it up on the screen now, and so that everybody can see what the handyman services contract looks like. And I'm going to address each of these points as we go along. All right, so bear with me while I share my handyman services contract screen. All right, so everybody can see the handyman services contract. So what we're going to do now, we're going to talk about who is a handyman. And the handyman contract is not only for the handyman. It's for persons who they have a small business and they want to have something as a start. You can use it, tailor the contract to suit your business, take stuff out, put stuff in, but certain items on the contract must remain for the contract to become legally binding. All right, so who's a handyman? Basically, a handyman is somebody who you hire. Most of the times it's during Christmas season. You will get most of that happening, where people would hire a handyman to do odd jobs around the house, like tiling, putting up windows, putting up kitchen cupboards, doing maintenance or landscaping jobs. The handyman would come in and tell you, well, listen, this is what I can do for you, and you all would enter into a contract. Most of the times what we see happening is people coming to us and saying, listen, I paid this guy to do such and such, and this is what took place. I paid upfront in full, and I haven't seen him since. They didn't see if they come into it's to build a cupboard, they didn't see a nail, they didn't see wood, they didn't see nothing, and they can't get on to the handyman. The contract is here to assist you and to limit the incidences of these things happening. You would most likely find that if it is you sign something, you're more likely to try to see it through. All right? Bear in mind that this handyman services contract becomes legally binding once it's signed. So let's go through it together real briefly so that I'll zero in on the areas that I want you to look at. All right? So you have your contract period here, the duration of works, the commencement date, the completion date, right? And here below, I want you to see signed for and on behalf of. So you have the contractor, who is your handyman, or it might be if it is you using it for your business, you would be the contractor, right? You will have a witness and you will have your client. The witness section has to be signed by somebody. We ask you to make sure that you do it by somebody of standing in your community, somebody who at the end of the day can stand up and say these two persons who entered in the contract were of sound body and mind at the time of entering into the contract. So we look at persons like a teacher, a principal, possibly a fire officer or a police officer, somebody of standing in your community who can say, or a shop proprietor even, who can say, well, listen, these persons were drunk at the time of entering into the contract. All right. So below this section, you have your schedule. And this schedule is often called your scope of works. It sets out exactly what the handyman is going to do for you. So if it's cupboards they're going to build, they'll have the design for the cupboards. They will talk about the size and dimensions, and they will talk about the material. It has to have the material for the door, material for the sides, material for the inside of the cupboards. It will talk about the cost of the job and how you intend to make the payments, if it is that they wanted 50% or whatever. So all these details would go here in your handyman services contract. And then you would sign to the top here. In the event that something was wrong in terms of the job, after the contract has been signed, your variations go here, and there is a space also for the contractor, who is yourself, the client, and another witness. All right. And so if there is, for example, the price of the teak or whatever it is, the material that you're using has gone up, or there's an unavailability, or any kind of a thing where the cost might have gone up for the job itself, or the date might have changed, you put your variations here and you put the date when the variations took place and when you will agree to it. All right. When you're doing this, make sure that you print it out on one sheet of paper, right? Not two sheets, one sheet. Why? Because if it is you lose one part of the contract, it becomes null and void, and you don't want that to happen. So you have it on one sheet of paper, printed on both sides. So, and once it's signed, it becomes legally binding. Make sure that you have a reliable witness. And in the event that there is some sort of a breach by either party, yourself as the contractor or the client, both of you all have claims under the petty civil court. Bear in mind also that the value is limited to 50,000. So for the petty civil court, and so this contract, you can only use it if it is the value is 50 and under. All right, but that's the limit, and it becomes legally binding. Again, if there's a breach, the contractor can use it if there's a breach by the contractor or yourself. So both of you all, this covers both of you all in the event that there's an issue. All right, so we have the contract, we have the signatures by the witness, yourself and the client, the legally binding, the same one sheet of paper. Just make sure. And also remember that people who have small businesses can tailor the contract to your business and change the name to the top so that you can have something to use in the event that you don't have a bill book or something formal to enter into contracts with. All right, and bear in mind also that it's 50,000 is the limit for the contract. All right, so we've cleared that. I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to go back into the PowerPoint presentation. So let me stop sharing my screen. Also, this is just like the Handyman, the ATPO, the brochure and this form is available on our Facebook page. You can check it out and download it yourself if it is that you want to keep it and make several copies so you can have it handy in case you have a job that pops up. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. Remember to check out our Facebook page if it is you need copies of these two documents. So I'm going to go and share now our PowerPoint. Right, so we're moving now to consumer purchasing tips. And we're doing this part because the pandemic has hit us so hard and a lot of people are having problems making adjustments. And so we want to try to help as best as we could with helping you to make better purchasing decisions and to help you to have your pocket a little heavier at the end of the month. All right, so one of the first things we want to talk about is making a shopping list and sticking to it. Guilty, it's very difficult. Now, one of the things that you don't ever do is go and shop when you're hungry, because you'll buy stuff that you think you want to eat right now, but when you get home, you don't want to cook it. So we ask that when you go, make your list, stick to your list, and avoid impulse shopping or avoid shopping when you're hungry because you buy things necessarily that you don't necessarily need. All right, so make your list, stick to it. Number 2, take advantage of sales and compare unit costs. Again, we like when they say something so much and so much for $20 and it looks really too good to be true. Sometimes you have to look at what the unit cost was for the item. So if it's four of the items for $20 and unit cost was $8, then yes, you're getting a bargain, and yes, you can make the purchase. It makes sense. But make sure that when you're taking advantage of the sales, compare what is the unit price, the price for one item, and make sure that it makes sense to make the purchase. Number 3, get out of your branded comfort zone. What does that mean? If you're accustomed, let's say, to buying the yellow milk to make your macaroni pie, and the yellow milk is more expensive than the red milk, you might want to change brands. It may mean that yes, you make so many sacrifices since this pandemic start. You just want to have your favorite item to use and use your favorite brand with it. But if it is that it means that your pocket going to be heavier at the end of the month, try to switch brands to something that's cheaper. All right, come out of that little comfort zone for a little while until you can do better. Number 4, buy in bulk. Now be good with that. One of the things that you can do when buying in bulk as well, if it is that you don't want 5 tins of corn, get together with somebody, maybe your sisters or maybe your other family members, and you all can buy in bulk. You need 2 tins, I need 3. So we buy in bulk because most of the times the unit prices on those are a bit cheaper than if it is you buy them singly. So we encourage you to buy in bulk. Number five, sorry, engage in comparative shopping. What does that mean? Don't go and just buy on impulse without checking the price of the item somewhere else. So it may mean that you hold on to your money a little bit, walk around. We publish our grocery list at the end of every month, our research unit, giving you the price of goods in supermarkets across the country. It may mean that you might have to buy your goods, split it in half, buy the goods somewhere else, half here and half there, just to get the best value for your money. So we encourage you to engage in comparative shopping before you actually set out to make the actual purchase. Number 6, plan meals around foods that are in season. Again, you feel like you're making sacrifices for the pandemic, you're giving up too much of what you really like, but the pandemic has taught us a lot, and we need to look at what we have in our hands and what is around us, and probably make the changes and make the adjustments for the fruits that we have available to us, or the foods that we have available to us. And last but not least, be a sustainable consumer. And we wanted to be mindful of the 5 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, and reframe. Reduce your use on single-use plastics, reuse items that you can reuse, recycle, take advantage of what the bins that Swimcall has in major supermarket car parks around the country, where you can recycle glass, plastic, Tetra packs, cans. Just take advantage of those, and be mindful of the environment. It's the same environment that your children would have, children's children are going to have. Repurpose. I know that people repurposing tires and stuff like that. So if it is you can repurpose wherever you can, do so. And last but not least, refrain from using the item, using single-use items if it is that you can. All right, next set of tips. Avoid purchasing prepared foods. I'm not trying to discourage economic activity. I'm just trying to help those who have been hit. All of us have been hit one way or another economically by the pandemic. And if it is that you can, and it will leave money in your pocket when the month comes, try to prepare meals. A lot of people don't like food, the same meal after 2 days, you carry the same food again and all that, but maybe it's the only way that you can save for that thing that you need. Maybe it's a fridge or something. Try to prepare your meals at home. Next, substitute recipe items. Use local instead of imported. And I was drawing a reference to strawberries. It may be that the strawberries is the only thing that might go good in your smoothie, but there are other local things that you can use and that would make your smoothie taste just as well. So try to substitute recipe items with local products instead of imported. And again, the bottom line we want to emphasize is more money in your pocket at the end of the month. All right, next, pay in cash rather than with credit to avoid paying interest on food items. Yeah, already some of the food items you have to pay VAT on it. That's 12.5%. Your credit card has a percentage that you have to pay. And essentially, if it is that you're paying for food with your credit card, you're paying interest on top of the VAT that you're already paying on your food items. So if it is that you can use another means to pay for food items, please do so. And last but not least, use reward cards. So banking institutions offer various credit card facilities. Some of the credit cards carry rewards along with them. If it is that you can avail of those, especially the ones with the miles that you can get, airline miles, and then there are those where you can get vouchers towards purchases for different merchants. You can get cashback vouchers. Try to get those cards where there's at least some kind of a kickback or a reward, and that way it makes it all worth the while. All right, so bear in mind those consumer tips that I have outlined to you, and try to at least have some money remaining in your disposable income at the end of the month. Now, so let's move on to how you'd get in touch with us. So we are, as you can see, we are live on Facebook, and you can message us on Consumer Affairs TT You can also send an email to us. Right now, all our sub offices are closed. Even our head office is closed because of COVID, but we want you, if it is that you have a complaint, email the complaint into us. Make sure and include your name, address, phone number, age, and occupation. Attach your receipt, proof of purchase. Scan it with your phone or with a scanner and attach it. Outline exactly what took place in the body of your email and send it to consumeraffairs@gov.tt. If it is you want to get in touch with us directly and you want to hear a voice, call our 800 line, 800-4277. If you have a query, you just want to find out some information, you want to get some information about an issue, call us between 8 and 4, Monday to Friday, 800-4277. So now this brings us to the end of our presentation, and I'm going to hand you back over to our moderator, Mrs. Cheryl Woodruff Roberts.
Thank you very much. That was very informative, Ava. Thank you very much, Mrs. Noel. But please stay with us as we enter into the Q&A segment. Viewers, you can still share the link or tag a friend and family. Okay, and I am giving you 1 more minute to place your questions in the live feed. Also coming up next is the quiz segment, so stay tuned. Let me check. Do we have any questions? Okay, someone sent me a question. Okay. How do I report stores which delay signs of no exchange, no refund? Again, could you assist us with this question, Mrs. Noel? How do I report stores which display signs of no exchange, no refund?
Okay, so one of the last things we had in the presentation was our contact information. So you can avail of any of these if it is that there's an issue. Now, when it is you're going to call us on the 800 number, you can contact us by email. Make sure that you have the name of the store and the actual violation that you saw. If it's on a receipt or if it's displayed behind the cash register, let us know where and let us know the name of the store and the address as to where you saw the violation so that we would be able to check it out. So send us an email, consumeraffairs@gov.tt, or you can call us on the 800 line, 800-4277, or you can use the Facebook page to point out the violation. Okay?
Okay, question number 2. Can suppliers write on the bill no returns after 7 days? Can suppliers write on the bill no returns after 7 days?
Okay, so it's a kind of a ticklish situation because stores normally would have their own policies, whether it's 7, 14, 21 or 28-day policies outside of what is supplied in the law for consumers to obtain redress. We don't want to discourage you from having a policy, but your policy mustn't be in contravention of the ATPO order. The ATPO specifically says you can't have certain signs that affects people's statutory rights. So no refund, no returns, all those things. You'll have to word it differently. You can have your policy, but you have to word it so that it's not in contravention of the ATPO order. So that sign, that no return after 7 days is, yes, it's a contravention and it needs to be worded so that you have a policy that's safe and that it's not in contravention of the ATPO order.
Okay, one more question. One more question. I purchased an iron and it was not working. I returned it 2 days after, and the supplier said no exchange as stated on the bill. Is this right?
Even if it is that there isn't a warranty stated on the bill, which I'm assuming, based on what I've been told just now, you purchased 2 days after an iron, at least you're supposed to have a month. So if even there's no warranty stated, there's something called an implied warranty of merchantability, which if it is I purchase a pen, it must write. If I buy an iron, I must be able to use it. So after 2 days, no, that's not acceptable. And even if he has the sign on the bill, which is also in contravention of the ATPO, that's not a policy, and it's in contravention of the ATPO and in contravention of the consumer's statutory rights under the law. If the item has a fault in it, he must be covered by some sort of a warranty to have the complaint addressed and have the item repaired or have the item exchanged. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Noel. This brings us to the final part of today's show, which is the consumer quiz segment. And this is an opportunity to win some wonderful prizes. Okay, I am going to read the questions. We have 2 questions. I am going to read them, and the first 2 persons to type the correct answer in the live feed will be declared the winner. Okay, so here we go. What are consumers required to do to ensure that the handyman service contract is valid in a court of law? Question number 1 again. What are consumers required to do to ensure that the handyman service contract is valid in a court of law? Question number 2. According to the ATPO, give 2 statements that are invalid by law. According to the ATPO, give 2 statements that are invalid by law. You have 1 minute. I see some answers. You have to answer both questions. I am seeing the answer for 1 question. You have to answer both questions. Viewers, you have to answer both questions. Could you give me the answer for question number 1?
Okay, so the first question was, what are consumers required to do to ensure that the handyman is valid? What must you have? So for it to be legally binding, it must contain 3 signatures: the contractor, a witness, and the client.
Okay. So question number 2.
Okay, so question number 2, according to the ATPO, 2 statements that are invalid by law. Any 2 that you have: no refund, no cash refund, no exchange, all sales are final. Any 2 of those, if it is you have that, you're inside.
Okay, so should we give this to Living, Loving, Learning? Living, Loving, Learning had, okay, I see the other answer popped up. Okay, so we have a winner. We have 1 winner. question number 1, she said it must have 3 signatures. Okay, Ava. Question number 1, living, loving, learning. Said
Yes,
it must have 3 signatures.
correct. That's
okay.
right.
And for question number 2, no exchange, no refund.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a winner. Living, loving, learning. Living, loving, learning. The 3 L's. We have a winner. So could you inbox us now with a contact number so we can arrange your prize collection? Let's hear it for living, loving, learning. Okay. So this brings us to the end of another segment of the live program Consumer Talk. We enjoyed engaging with you, our consumers, and we hope that you would have gained added information through the session that will help you to make wiser decisions as a consumer. Just a reminder that this show will take place on the 3rd Friday of every month at 11 a.m. right here on Facebook page at Consumer Affairs TT, except for the month of March, okay, where we would have the session on the 15th of March, okay? So we encourage you to put on your notifications, and if you would like to contact us, send us an email at consumeraffairs@gov.tt, or you can call us on 800-4277. So we look forward to hearing from you. Consumers, know your rights, be aware, be responsible. Thank you very much for joining us today. Look out for our webinar in the month of March as we celebrate World Consumer Rights Day 2022. Bye now.